We might get caught in one of these exponential bubbles in 2025. I can see that we might do that, right? We need to look at a lot of things to come up with one. Trump's election, the set of rules for Bitcoin, a change at the CTC, and Dubai's first Bitcoin stacks. There are a few things that could really set off a full-blown mania trend like the one we had in 2017. And if we do get into that, I don't think math really tells us that we'll stop at 200,000, 200,000, 250,000, or 300,000. We could reach 500,000. Krueger thinks that there could be a huge Bitcoin bubble again in 2025, which could be caused by a number of different factors. Some of these are Donald Trump's re-election, the growing use of Bitcoin as a standard by businesses, and maybe even states like Dubai, and changes in the rules, especially on SEC that is friendlier to Bitcoin. If all of these things come together, the next Bitcoin bull run could be bigger than expected, sending prices as high as $500,000. You can also watch our other videos about cryptocurrencies and digital assets in general. Please share your thoughts and comments in the part below. For the channel's growth, everything you do is very helpful for the YouTube system. Thanks and have fun with the movie. You know about how long the bull market lasted, right? I guess. There has been an unstable exponential rise during these bull markets, and there have been 3 of them. That's not a lot of data, right? It really is exponential, and I think Giovanni made that point very clear. It's going up by 1% every day, and it's just making more and more. You know the bubble is going to pop, and it does. The trouble is that you can't be sure when it will pop. But if you have this much crazy vertical movement like we've had this year, you know it will pop, you just don't know when. I don't think the power law tells you much about when it will pop either, since we haven't had enough bubbles yet, and I think they're extremely hard to time. And I'm not sure that maths really tells us when the bubbles will pop. I believe the same is true for Bitcoin. That sounds like it's true for both cooking chicken fish and Nvidia. I'm not sure. A lot of bubbles form, and you have no idea when they'll pop. That's why I don't know. It makes me wonder what will happen if we get caught in one of these exponential bubbles in 2025. I think we might, right? We need to look at a lot of things to come up with one. Changes at the SEC, the election of Trump, and the use of a Bitcoin standard. You know, Dubai is beginning to store Bitcoin. There are a few things that could really set off a full-blown mania trend like the one we had in 2017. And if we do get into that, I don't think math really tells us that we'll stop at 200,000, 200,000, 250,000, or 300,000. We could reach 500,000. Based on the power law, I believe that 500,000 would be the highest amount that can be won in this case in the next couple of years. Why? Since 500,000 would be about twice the trend line, and none of the other bubbles have gone about 2 times the trend line. It doesn't look like it will happen. At the same time, it looks like the portion of the trend line is going down. I think 500,000 would be too much. In line with the power law, it is still. We're not going to break all of our models just because you hit 500,000. It's still possible though, right? If it does happen and the bubble pops, I think we will go back down through the trend line just like any other bubble. We will reach a steady point at about 1 standard deviation below. Of course, that would be really painful. That's 75% of the way back to the high point. It's going to be very bad. In any case, it's possible that we don't have one of these risky bubbles. We're not in one right now, right? Right now, we are 20% below the trend line. We are getting a lot more. More smart investors are getting into this market now than during the bubble in 2017. We are getting more sustainability than we had during the last bubble. During that time, many plans like FTX and Do Kwon fell apart and could not last. So, maybe we don't get stuck in this big bubble behavior. That's all that can happen. Krueger says that as Bitcoin gets older and its market changes, we might not see the same lightning fast price increases followed by sudden drops. Instead, the market might become stable as more sensible traders take over, rather than risky ones. Fred Krueger has a complex view on Bitcoin's future. He stresses that while trends from the past, like the 4-year cycle of halvings, have helped us predict how the market will move, they might not work as well in the future. With halvings having less of an effect and more institutions adopting and using cryptocurrencies, It's possible that future bull markets will look different from the ones that have come before. The market has been going up for. After a year and a half, the bull market really began in January 2023. Now that it's October, the bull market has been going for almost 2 years. Also, let's think about it, can the power law or something else work? Look at how things have gone in the past to figure out how high and for how long we're going to go. In Bitcoin, everyone is crazy about the idea of loops that last 4 years. There is a strong link between the idea of a 4-year cycle and the idea of halving, as well as the following facts. When the first half was cut in half in November 2012, a bull market began soon after in January or February 2013, which means that the bear market began in November 2014, 12 months after the first half. The bear market began in November 2017, 16 months after the second split began in July 2016. The third cutting in half began in May 2020. It was 16 months later when the bear market began in September 2021. So halvings happen every 4 years and bear markets happen every let's say 12 to 16 months after that, right? So if you want to stick with this line of thinking, you'd say that the fourth halving happened in April 2024 and the bear market should start 16 months later, which would put us in August 2025. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners are crazy about this for some reason or other. Also, I think we should take a step back from this study because these three events are enough to scare us. The halves happen every 4 years because they are set to do so. A lot of people also think that the bear market might happen right after the split. So I think there are two main questions which I wrote down and sent out on Twitter. The first question is whether we think that the halvings are what started the bull markets. Do we really think that they are the main cause of bull markets? It's amazing how powerful they are at making bull markets happen. Second, do we think this bull market, like the last three, will end very quickly? Okay, let's deal with these questions one at a time. The halves are the first question. Do you care about the halves? Indeed, I would say that the first and second halvings were very important because they cut the supply by a huge amount. Especially with the first halving, there wasn't a huge market for Bitcoin before it became more popular. That's how Bitcoin really came to be. So when there was this huge supply shock, it made a huge difference. Something bad is going to happen if you go to not to 2028. I use the phrase supply shock to describe the drop from 450 Bitcoin to 225 Bitcoin. It's possible that Bitcoin will be worth a lot more, but 200 Bitcoin per day is still a lot. This is not even close to what it was in 2016, for example. 95% of the Bitcoin has been mined so far. I also don't think the supply shock will have as much of an effect. So it's not clear that the next one will start another bull market in the same way. I think that what will make it happen is more likely just trad fees, financial acceptance, and access to money. Yes, I'm not even sure about that. This means that the bull market is caused by having not so clear, right? As the market changes, buyers should be ready for